I'm going to check the live to see if it's going to go through, and then I'll give you the countdown to get us started. Okay. We're good? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a very special Cats and Bolts, Florida's #1 hockey podcast. Today, we will be going live in studio. Cannot wait to have you guys. Stay tuned. Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the #1 Florida hockey podcast. 3, 2, 1.
Producer Ben Castro, and it is, hey, you got a real Wolfman Jack thing going on over there, Ben. Did you look it up? Doesn't he? What did you say?
Little Wolfman Jack.
I describe it.
Yeah. Jeff Chychryn's with us. We are live on your various social media platforms, YouTube specifically here with Florida's, as Ben said, #1 and favorite hockey podcast. You want to go wide and show everybody here? I'm Rod Pedersen. Sarina Taylor's here, co-host, and Jeff Chychryn, NHL alum, Bally Sports Florida alum. We had to get you, Chick, this first post-trade deadline show, man. There's just so much to talk about.
So much. A lot of action, a lot of teams trying to take that next step. Mm-hmm. Some selling off. Depends what chair your general manager sits in, I suppose.
Yes. And that's what we're going to go over here over the next 30 minutes. How are you doing, by the way? What do you want to talk about this week?
Definitely the trades. I feel like, I don't know if we're getting into this like right yet, but I think everybody was probably the most surprised with Boston just unleashing everybody.
Yeah.
Especially with Charlie McAvoy being out for the year. They just said, forget it, we're done.
Right. As funny, and I was chatting with Cliff Peak last night, Andrew's dad, just as a couple of dads. I told him how well I thought Andrew played last night, and he said, yeah, I was really excited to see the passion the boys played with. And you could see, I mean, so you sort of get kicked a little bit by your GM selling everybody off and sort of wondering. Now, there's obviously opportunity for other people to step up, but I thought they played pretty well, pretty hard against Tampa and Florida, right? The past couple of games.
He's talking about the Bruins beating the Panthers 3-2, which the Panthers got. And by the way, we're going to talk Lightning too. I got to get your take on what the Lightning did at the trade deadline because they're getting a lot of kudos. But Panthers were going for a 7th straight win and had the lead. What'd they do? Take their foot off the gas, do you think, or what?
I think so. I listened to Mo's press conference this morning, and he said, we're not going to analyze this game too much. Actually, he was only on for about a minute and a half. And Mo, you know, a 5-minute conversation with Mo can take a half hour sometimes because he gives so much information. He's really great for guys that sort of sit in our jobs. But yeah, he's sort of intimated that Boston probably took advantage of what Florida gave them. Couple penalties to sort of start that third period off. You know, you give Pasternak an opportunity on the PP, he can hurt you. I don't know if they took their foot off the gas. I think you get a motivated club that gets a little momentum on home ice, and sometimes that snowball's a little bit tough to stop as it's rolling down that hill. But I think a veteran club like Florida, they're not going to worry too much about it. They're probably more angry at themselves for letting 2 points slip away than anything.
I think a very, very similar thing happened between Buffalo and Edmonton the other night. I'm not sure if you watched that game. Buffalo was really good. And Edmonton, I think, was a little floored. Skinner was, I'm not sure if he ever stayed on 2 feet at any point in time. It was rough. It was rough. But Buffalo was really good. But just like you said with Florida, there's no reason to be worried. They lost to a bottom team, and it's not that big of a deal. Just get back and go.
Right. And I didn't see that Edmonton-Buffalo game. Was that the day after Buffalo was here?
It was Monday night, so it was 2 days after the Sabres were here.
So I saw Buffalo here. I didn't think they were that good, quite frankly, here against Florida. But I could see how a team, you know, there's such anticipation to this trade deadline. And whether you're a guy on a long-term deal, sort of wanting your team to get better, or whether you're a kid trying to make an impression and get an opportunity, there is anticipation going into that trade deadline. And all of a sudden it's gone. And there's got to be an effect after it, whether it's a relief, whether it's let's just go out there and play. whether there's, I don't know, a quote pressure off. I think you always get the butterflies before a game regardless, but perhaps there is pressure off these guys. All of a sudden, you look at Boston throughout their history. I don't know if they've ever sort of gone through a rebuild, not that I can really remember. They're always kind of good, right? Those kind of big and burly.
Only time I could think is when they drafted Joe Thornton.
Right. That's true. Good point.
That's the only time.
Jumbo.
And Bork wanted out.
Right. So,
Who would have thought?
But it was so insignificant that it didn't last long.
No.
And
they built on that.
It's rare.
Yeah. So maybe you can just relax. You're not squeezing the stick so tight. I don't know. I think players all react differently, but as a unit, I think Boston's played pretty well the past couple of days.
Yeah. Well, you said there's some pride there, and
why am I talking about Boston? I don't care about the Boston Bruins.
None of us do.
God.
Well, hey, let's just talk about the trade deadline itself. I think. Listen, we had a poll on the RP show, my daytime show, who won, and Florida ran away with the voters, said Florida won. So we'll say that. Who's number 2 and 3?
I think Dallas made out pretty well. Obviously, Mikko Rantanen, big fish, right, to bring in there. Colorado, I think they regrouped quite nicely, bringing in Brock Nelson. You're going to have to refresh me on the other guys.
The Colorado got Eric Johnson.
I don't remember
Eric
either.
Johnson, that was a nice favor, I think, that the Flyers did to Eric Johnson. Probably go back to possibly maybe his last run at it. There was somebody else. I think, and it's interesting to see some of the teams that stood pat. But I think that there's always some kind of anticipation going into the trade deadline, and then there's an after effect depending on how it works out. I mean, you can look, I think Florida, I think Bill Zito's been a great general manager here. I mean, so many guys on the free agent list or guys that were almost discontinued on certain clubs, maybe a Gus Forsling and Anthony Duclair, guys that came in here and had pretty good years or have had really good careers since coming here. I think the only two a couple of years ago when they brought in Claude Giroux and defenseman.
Talking to ones that did, Shabbat.
Ben Charette.
Charette.
Yeah. Didn't work.
No,
right? Neither one of them got
did.
really settled here. Other than that, I mean, I assume Seth Jones probably a really good time in his career to come play in Florida. Still got a lot of life, skates really well. Be interesting to see how that sort of incorporates into the power play. I think that's probably one of their concerns. I think they really miss Matthew Tkachuk right now on that power play. But we'll see how it all pans out. They're going to miss Eki for a little bit, that's for sure.
I would have made those trades picking up Claude Giroux, though, any day of the week. And I think about Winnipeg this year because it's going to go that same way for Winnipeg. They pick up a guy like Luke Schenn. That can go really well, or it's probably not going to have much of an impact.
Yeah, right. I agree with that. I think Luke he's such a solid, big presence, very physical, been through the wars many times, took care of my son when my son was 18. Did a great job with that, taught him the ropes. But yeah, he can definitely come in. He can play a lot or he can play a little, and it's not going to affect how he plays, sort of depending on how the game and series is going.
Aside from the Rantanen trade, the trade was Brad Marchand, and she sent it to me, the meme, if you will, from TSN, and I thought it was fake.
I'm like, did you see this?
Right.
He's like,
Sorry.
this isn't real.
Yeah.
But it is.
Yeah, and pretty fair, low price probably, I would think. I mean, obviously you're getting an asset that's not signed long term, but a second round pick for an asset like that can probably win you a series or two. Given that opportunity, hopefully he's healthy come that time. Pretty exciting. I mean, yeah, we as Canadians, we've all cheered for that guy for a long time, right? And talk about a money player, someone that seems to bring out the best in everybody around him. And that's just a shot of adrenaline when he walks in that room, right, with that persona. He's not very tall, but he walks like he's 6'5", I think, going in that room.
He's the guy. I was talking to Peter Horchak about this right after the Four Nations Cup. He said, every one of those guys, like the McDavids and the McKinnons, were told, this is your role. And they all said, okay, we're going to do it. And that was Marchand. He was a third and fourth line guy. Go do this. Yeah. And he did what he was supposed to do. And that's what he's going to be here.
For sure. He doesn't want to disrupt the apple cart, but whether they need him to fill in that first line, is he going to be on the second line with Bennett and Tkachuk when everybody's here and healthy? Is he going to play on the third line? He could play on the fourth line and be an energy guy. I don't think that's going to happen. I think he's far too valuable for that. But it's going to be very interesting to see where they slot him, see the chemistry that evolves. I think that was maybe a little bit of an issue in Boston too. I think there's a little bit of a chemistry juggle going on right now with those guys last night, particularly maybe on the power play. Although did they score on the 5-on-3 last night?
No, I don't think so.
No, it was one.
Pasternak's goal?
No, I'm talking about the Panthers.
Oh.
Maybe it was the game before. I remember, listen to Maurice talk about how Jones had been settling in on the power play. Anyway, it'll be interesting to see how they all sort of
they'll figure it out.
Smooth it out
last year.
Yeah.
Stop the presses. Ben's
Ding,
all
ding.
excited. What's going on over there?
Oh, we got some people live in the chat. It's awesome. So,
What are they saying?
So first off, Ben Cobb says, "Tell Sarina I say hi."
There we go.
This guy
I
wants
like
me
it.
to come watch him play hockey.
Oh, okay.
He plays with Peter Worrell's program,
Gotcha.
Adaptive
hockey.
He's a stud.
And he wants all the
Fantastic.
girls to come. Rod's like, how come I didn't get an invite? Well, I wonder.
I already have been there.
he's been there,
and
yeah.
watched them.
We got
what-
we got a couple other
I'm
ones.
glad
We
it's
got Adrian Rainey. Loves the live show. Let's go.
From the Rainy Day Pod. Great guy.
Yep. And then Pro Panthers. Love this live fee.
Love it.
Guys, good thing
Nice.
Chick was here. He's
Nice.
our favorite
Yes.
guest. Him and Bill
It's all 'cause
Lindsay
of
are like
Jeff.
right there. Yeah.
Do the best not to stumble.
Yeah.
Listen, live TV, live radio, you make a mistake, you just keep running.
Just
with
kidding.
it.
Nobody
just
needs to
live
know.
with that error or that lie that you just told and keep on rolling.
Yeah, we've all had a couple slips of the tongue in our day. Rod's had several in the football
It's a
field.
speech impediment.
yeah.
Oh, no. Come on, Rod. Not
That
with the
reminds me
Green
of-
Riders.
Frank Clare Stadium.
Yes.
I
I'm standing proud
combined
of
the
my seat
words
now.
kick and punt.
Oh, you
And I
did.
think she was listening.
Well, everybody was listening. So
a
Riders
Rough
are
Rider
playing
game.
in Ottawa. Frank Clare Stadium, guys, is in Ottawa, and Rod was broadcasting football there. And
Nice.
mixed up.
On the north side.
Yeah.
Broadcasting.
North side sucks.
Yeah. Yeah.
South side sucks.
Generally set in south side.
Is that why you slipped?
No, well, they yell at each other. North
Yeah,
side,
no.
side. It's an Ottawa thing. Which, by the way, later I do have written down here. What do you love about the CFL? So that's at the end.
I love it.
That's
Okay.
at the end. And I
Yep.
want you to cut that, Benny, please, because I want to show all our CFL friends. But we're still on point one, and we're like 10 minutes into this
We
thing.
haven't even moved.
I'll just stop. Other than to say, I enjoyed the stories of Barkov. I guess went and stood at Marchand's stall for like 5 minutes and stared at it on Saturday. Couldn't believe it happened. He's like everybody. Nobody
Yeah.
saw it coming. So enough about that. Tampa Bay. Everybody's talking what they did. They got Yanni Gourde back. They got 8 guys that won back-to-back Stanley Cups on this team with the Lightning. And then Oliver Borgstad, who's a stud. But they gave up first rounders in 2026, 2027, a second this year, and Mikey Isamont and Julian Brisebois saying, I'd rather have players than picks. Debate at will.
Gosh, when was the last time they had a first round pick? They gave up 2 for Hagel way back, 2 again. But I think this is a team that's very comfortable in their skin. They brought back McDonough this year as well from their championship clubs. Brisebois understands what works under John Cooper. He understands what makes probably Kucherov and Hedman comfortable leading a group like that. They've got some guys, obviously like Anthony Cirelli, who have come in. Number 20, shoot, name's just
Paul.
Nick Paul.
Yeah.
That was a real steal for them from the Ottawa Senators. And I think they've got a really good nucleus that knows how to win. They bring guys back. There's not going to be an integration into a system because they know how Coop plays. So really interesting. And listen, if you look at their draft picks, they're going to be between 25 and 32 probably, right? Not high picks. They're projects probably 3-4 years down the road. So a lot of GMs aren't too concerned what's going to happen 3-4 years down the road, because if they don't win today, they're not going to be. And probably in Tampa's case, they've got that nucleus that they've been committed to. Yeah, they are in win mode today. They're not a la Boston, who's sort of
Exciting for their
sent out.
fans.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I said I think it was just to you, or maybe it was on the show last week, I forget. But that clearly indicates to me, okay, Tampa was not probably going to get a top 10 pick anyway. And that shows me that they don't have anybody in their system that they're super excited, or anybody that they are like, okay, we really want to draft this guy and insert him as a franchise player.
Right in Syracuse, yeah.
Like it's just not there. So that's okay.
Yeah. No, yeah, for sure. And I agree with you. there's nobody immediately there that's ready to come up today to help. So you got to go get the help, right, to sort of get you over that hump. I think these guys come in. Yanni Gourde, I mean, he's a winner, right? He just seems to. He was playing well out west. Just seems to needle you just enough when you're playing against him to sort of raise the intensity level. And they got a lot of guys like that on that
Tampa's
roster.
brand.
That is, yeah.
That's what they do.
They're
Florida's doing it too.
Yeah.
Plus, Eastmont was playing on the fourth line here. So it's not like they really made a blockbuster, but I think everybody's super happy that they got Gourde back.
Yeah. He'd be popular in the room.
My next point is not a popular one, but I was watching Pardon the Interruption the other night, Monday. Ticker came across the bottom. Am I the only one that watches
No,
this
it's a
show?
pretty funny show.
I love it. Every day I watch it. Aaron Ekblad suspended for 20 games. I'm like,
Yeah.
had to rewind. Positive PED violation. And it sucks. What did you think when you heard that?
Well, obviously, I feel for the player. Aaron's a real stand-up guy. Very intelligent guy. He made a mistake and he owned up to it, right? He might have taken something that didn't know was on the list. And I don't think that whatever the banned substances are, you see it all the time at the World Championships and things like that. Guys take I don't know if it's a Sudafed or something for a common cold, and it's a banned substance. And, you know, you're not taking illegal drugs. It's just something that the league doesn't allow you to take. I think he took something to help him heal quicker. And it made the list, and he got tested for it. So unfortunately, he didn't try to hide it. He said, darn it, it happened. And I'm sure he'd like to have that one back. But listen, Aaron's done so much for this franchise over the years. I mean, it's a mistake, and they're going to move on, and they're going to miss him for the 20 games. There's no doubt about that, especially trying to find that chemistry going into the playoffs. They'll give Seth Jones and other guys an opportunity to really get acclimated to playing here. But I think the Panthers are just going to move on and just wait till he's ready to come back, and hopefully he's able to get back Game 3 of round 1.
That's what they're looking at.
I think so.
time-wise.
I think so.
Yeah,
I think he
that's,
had
first
18
two
games left.
Yeah.
Plus the first two in the playoffs.
Yeah. That's what it'd be. I mean, you're right. It happens.
It happens.
Every little thing. It's like there's no drama around it. There was nobody could even, people love to make drama about everything, but nobody did because there was nothing to really, I mean, there's been worse stories out there.
Right. And there's so many products. I mean, I'm a parent. I'm a parent in this league, right? So, I mean, there's so many things. These guys they're constantly being petitioned to try things and new products coming out. I mean, we've all walked in a GNC store. There's so many things that someone could take. You have no idea what's in half of that stuff. So you have to really do your research, and before you try something you haven't tried before, you're going to have to ask the questions, obviously, because it could come back to bite you. And I think it was a random test. I don't think he was expecting to. I thought I read that.
Well, which brings me to my next point. I try to hear what I see the Panthers fans talking about, and you might have seen it too. Some are saying, did the Panthers know this was coming? That's why they went and got Seth Jones, right-handed top four shot? And I'm like, it lines up, but how could he play if they knew?
I think they were looking for depth before that. I don't think they knew that coming. I don't think there's that much notice that is coming down the pike. Maybe a day or two. Not what was it? Was it a week possibly when Seth?
Yeah, what do you think?
No, there's no way.
Yeah.
You try to get defensemen. Every team in the NHL should be trying to get.
You can
good
never
defensemen.
have too many.
Yeah, so no, I don't think so. I hear because it's like, wait a second, but that's more of a long-term injured reserve conversation as opposed to, hey, we're coming in and.
Yeah, I think it's a great replacement for Brandon Montour, right? I mean that they missed from their last run, and with the LTIR they were able to get some relief, I believe. Matthew, contract-wise, it just fits in there.
As somebody said, when Ekblad's number goes up to the rafters, we won't even think about this. And I tweeted back at him. I said, I'll hold you to that. I hope you don't bring it up because I think they will retire his number. They should. Also, couldn't believe he was only 29.
Yeah.
I thought he was like 49.
It feels like he's been around for 20 years.
Early birthday.
Yeah.
And by the way, the only guy that played more the night of Seth Jones' debut against Tampa was Aaron Ekblad. He's been playing a lot. He's been playing well. Whatever. It's over. You brought up the long-term injured reserve, and then you mentioned it. So have you been looking at my notes?
Never.
We had I was talking to an agent the other day, and he said, what are the chances Tkachuk got hurt in the fight? Have you heard that too?
Well, I mean,
probably.
Because he didn't finish that game, correct?
Oh.
So I think it's very possible. we don't know what his injury is. It's upper lower body, right? That's all we really know of these things. We don't have other news, do we?
No, but I feel
Nothing.
like I originally heard it was a groin.
Oh.
That's what I originally
It's out
heard
there.
during the Four Nations Cup.
Okay.
But that's what I always just kind of assumed it was because that's what I heard, but nobody really said. But when we saw him the other day, last weekend, he was walking fine. And if you have a messed up groin, you're definitely wobbling.
Yeah.
But he was walking fine.
Fair, but I mean, Marchand was skating pretty hard in the yesterday morning, and they say weeks away from coming back.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. He wasn't wearing a yellow jersey.
No.
Right? Had the regular white on.
So you never know.
Yeah.
Okay, this is going to be fun. Everything's fun, but you played with Gretzky in LA, right?
Mm-hmm.
She's got a take on Wayne and Trump and Wayne being under fire. Can I start with you? Wayne Gretzky under fire, still under fire in Canada for his friendship with Donald Trump, to the degree that I'm sure you saw they're pulling his wine from shelves.
I like his wine.
In Canada.
How dare you?
Yeah.
You mustn't be Canadian then.
You got to get on the soapbox?
Right.
Listen, there's so much stuff that I've seen, and Jeff, I don't know if you see it as much as we do or not, but the things people are saying are ungodly. They are inhumane. They are unbelievable.
Really bad.
Like really bad about Wayne, and accusing him of not being a Canadian because he lives here and he whatever. And I'm like, I live here. I'm no less Canadian than you are. But here's my thing, because I could go off, because don't you dare attack Wayne. But here's what the point they're missing, whether they don't like Trump or they don't like America or they don't like whatever. Guys, it doesn't have to be either or. It can be and. Wayne can be Canadian and live in America. I'm Canadian. We all live in America. It doesn't have to be either or. And that's what's the most frustrating thing, is that people literally are accusing him of not being Canadian. They want to see his records broken. They want to basically see him die. And I'm like, this is somebody that has given everything to the sport of hockey, to the country of Canada, and they're treated like this.
Right.
It's appalling to me.
Yeah, there's a lot of rhetoric going back and forth, a lot of hurt feelings going back and forth, obviously, and without getting political, I think a lot of our, and I want to be empathetic to our friends and family back home too, a lot of them would be very surprised the quantities of hockey players, I'll say, that they'd be surprised what their political views are, whether they're right or left wing on the ledger. They'd be very surprised. So, because there's a lot of them on either side, but so most people would probably be surprised by that, I would think, regardless of where they're from. But Wayne's he's a special guy, and he's represented Canada so many times. I remember when his dad passed away, they had the funeral in Brantford, and I remember Wayne being interviewed. No, it was his speech. That's what it was, from the podium. I saw it, and he said, I always tell my children, you should be as proud to be American as your grandfather was to be Canadian. That's Wayne's blood. I mean, I know how Wayne was raised, and so proud to be Canadian. But he's like the rest of us, right? Work brought him to the United States. That's what brought me here. I met my wife, and I ended up staying here. I had my green card. If I was not married to Nancy, I probably would have gone back home. That's where my family was. So I think circumstance sort of dictates where we end up in life. It's not necessarily how we plan and draw it out. And but Wayne's a good person. I can count down the middle of probably 50% of my friends that vote on either side of the ledger. And if I wanted to draw a line in the sand, depending on how I vote on any given year, I could have 50% fewer friends. I choose not to do that. I choose to respect whether you like how things are going or not. With any presidency, I think you have to be careful, draw that line, and keep an open mind, and respect people's opinions, because that's what this country and Canada, we live in free states, is all about.
You sure? Yeah, I feel bad for him too. You know, he didn't see this coming, right?
Yeah,
and I think he probably just wished it would blow over, and it's not.
Right.
You know, idiots like us talking about it.
It is really sad. I do agree with you. Like, if we did draw the line, but we don't. We Wayne hasn't drawn the line in the sand, but everybody's accusing him of doing that, and it's really unfortunate.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. You're sort of guilty by association at times, and it doesn't paint the whole picture. It doesn't tell the truth, and it doesn't give clarity as to what one really thinks. But again, it's who's right and who's wrong is all based. It's all objective.
Of course.
Yep.
Okay, more fun topics.
Was well said, though.
Brady Tkachuk, the man in Ottawa, right? And Jacob played with him there. That same agent I talked to the other day said, if anybody could get Brady Tkachuk out of Ottawa, it's Bill Zito. If he wants him, he'll get him.
Interesting.
What do you think?
Well, I don't think Michael Landauer or Steve Stais want to hear anything like that for sure. And it's not even fair to speculate, but very interesting that someone thinks someone could possibly find a way to circumvent or have the assets to bring in. That's a pretty big fish. Brady certainly is a valuable commodity, plays how teams would want you to play. And he makes a lot of money too, so that's a big asset to sort of fish to pull out of the ocean.
Yeah, you're going to end up with the 2 Tkachuks, and that's all you're going to have.
Yeah.
Because that's the way it goes financially.
Although, the next 3 years, that cap is going to go like that. So maybe almost $10 million a year up the next 3 years. So where'd that come from, right? It's because the salary cap has been artificially kept down for the past 5 or 6 years. And it's going to be interesting to see where it all goes.
Wow. Well, you would know better than anybody else in South Florida if it was even possible to get Brady Tkachuk out of Ottawa. I can't see it. Bill Lindsay sat on that chair, was it last week, 2 weeks ago? He goes, they're not. He's a unicorn.
Yeah.
You don't trade guys like that.
Yeah. No, I agree. And he's a draft pick of Ottawa too, right? So he was drafted to be the franchise. I think the toughest trade is that first one. It's not the general manager that drafted Brady, but it's that first franchise. And he is the face of that franchise. I'm sort of looking back over, my son was there for you, just thinking who's in that room. But Brady is definitely the face of that franchise, the leader. He's in all kinds of, he gives a lot of his time to charities. That was the word I was thinking of, to the city of Ottawa and a lot of underprivileged people. And he does a great job with that. So good on Brady. I don't think he's going anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
You know, those Canadian teams really like those franchise players. Like, I think about the Senators, and I would say Daniel Alfredson was probably the last. I think they really wanted Alexei Yashin to be that guy, and he just wasn't.
Yeah.
And then it was like, now what? And they want to keep him. I don't blame them.
Yeah, I think when Erik Karlsson left and Mark Stone, both draft picks as well, that's sort of, I guess the mold was set when Wayne left Edmonton. Nobody's guaranteed to be anywhere forever. Shane Doan, actually, I remember my son, his first Shane was 40, and Shane had an opportunity to leave at the trade deadline. And we had the dad's trip. We were in San Jose, and I know I was sitting with Mark Martinook, Shane, I think Ty was with us, and Shane and his dad Bernie were there. And the guys were all going, like, I remember Mark Martinook, Shane, go, man. We'd be cheering you on, and we'd be so excited if you have a chance to win a cup. And Shane says, yeah, you know what? Pretty cool to play your whole career in one place, too, he said. It was pretty humbling. I thought that was pretty neat conversation. Yeah.
Well, it's funny. Were you going to say something?
Well, it's just all those guys that are drafted on those Canadian teams, the Dale Howardchucks, the Shane Doans, like all those guys.
Yeah.
They would rather, the Ryan Getzlaffs, just rather play on the same team.
Right.
You know?
I think it's, my dad worked at Nortel his whole career. You guys met my dad last year, 39 years. I don't think many people spend their whole time with one organization anymore, whether it's in corporate life, private life, or in sports anymore.
Not too much. No.
Especially in a fixed cap era, right?
Yes.
A few things. Well, Tim Hunter was on my show the other day from Arizona, from his Arizona home, and I said, are they missing hockey in the Valley of the Sun? And he goes, big time.
Yeah.
Which they would.
Yeah.
The hardcore fans love it. He goes, well, there's a rumor of some guys putting some money together, and Shane Doan's part of the group. And I'm
Here
like,
we go.
I won't hold my breath. They couldn't get a rink for the last 30 years. Why would they now?
Right.
But do you know something, Chick?
I don't know anything. I know we talk about it all the time. I was with, my son just got married in Scottsdale 2 weeks ago. And all the people I'm talking to there, former general managers, people involved in the league today, we all believe it's a great market. I had this chat with Brad Living. Like, he was there, I don't know how many years. We know it's a great market. People may not want to admit it's the fifth biggest market in this country. In Florida terms, the rink was in Stewart.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
Yeah.
it was 35 miles each way for my son to go to practice or games. He put 130 miles on his car on a game day, there, back. So it just wasn't where the population was. They used to say the same things about the Capitals when they played in Landover, Maryland. They complain where the rink is in Ottawa. I hear it all the time. I'm not driving all the way out to Canada on a February at Tuesday night in February. I don't listen to it. I think it's poppycock. But, I mean, they think it's going to be easier to get to downtown Ottawa. That'll be really interesting.
That's what everybody
When the
can
train
say.
doesn't even work. The train in Edmonton's awesome, by the way. I used to take that all the time. When
Calgary's
I played
good too. Well, in Arizona, I hope it happens too. The fans told me, because as you know, they got great fans. They said if we had a team, people would show up.
there. Yeah.
They've been terrible forever.
It all starts from the top, right?
That too.
Look at here. I mean, everything's sold out every night here now. All the suites, we used to broadcast from over Bobrovsky's left
No, you
shoulder.
can't.
Now they're in a little phone booth sort of on the third level. All of a sudden you get a good owner, you get Vinny Viola, and you start acquiring assets. You let your hockey people do their job. It brings momentum, it brings energy, and all of a sudden you have a run and the rink's full. Now they have something they can forecast to where they're going to be 5-6 years from now probably. Couldn't do that because they had 4 or 5 owners in the previous 15 years, and it just didn't bring stability. And you need to have that financial backing and ownership. It all starts at the top. Look at Tampa. Jeffrey Vinik, I mean, he did such an amazing job with that club, moved them on, and they still have that presence, and they're a good hockey team starting from the ownership down.
And a great hockey town.
Great hockey town. It's fun going over there, isn't it?
Yes, it
Love that
is.
building.
Yeah. Look like you were going to say something.
Nope.
No? Well, Washington, I can't let you get out of here without, my God, we almost came to blows on my talk show today about who's going to be coach of the year, because a lot of
Right.
guys have done some really good jobs.
Yeah.
I'm a Huska guy in
Right?
Calgary.
Oh, yeah,
right?
he's done a great job.
Another Dub grad in
Ah.
Columbus, Dean Evison,
Yeah.
Washington guy.
I think Paul Maurice talked about Evison the other day.
Did he?
He should definitely be up for coaching.
But everybody's saying it'll be Spencer Carberry, and I can't really argue with that.
Yeah, I mean, he's done, you know what, I know from my perspective, I was talking to a couple of scouts, the usual first 2 up in the pro scouts up in, I won't say their names, but one's
Yeah,
been on the
yeah.
show many times.
And has opinions.
Yeah, and their opinion was,
colorful.
he thinks Spencer should definitely be coach of the year at this point because they play with the most structure. They seem to win a lot of different ways. I mean, their starts the past 15 games haven't been good. I think we've been behind. I said we again, didn't we?
It's all good.
11 of the past 15 games that we've won for whatever reason. But I know from my son's perspective, he likes to play a puck possession game. They kind of open the door and say go. Like they let him play his game. I know he really appreciates that, but you have to be responsible defensively. You know, if you're going to get scored on, then you obviously. But I was telling a couple of guys the other day, same pro scouts on the corner there. I said a lot of those 50-50 pucks years prior, let's say in Phoenix or even Ottawa, get a little scrambly in your own zone, maybe a panic. Pucks always seem to end up in the back of your net. In Washington, it just seems like someone's going to get a stick out on it. Someone's going to have good body possession. We just seem to get possession of those pucks and not lose them and have these sort of game momentous goals against you. We don't seem to have a lot of those in Washington. Seem to get possession of those. And a lot of times there's a counterplay and they're gone the other way and scoring. The team won at the start of the year when Ovechkin wasn't scoring. Then he got red hot for 15 games. They were winning. He got hurt. They sort of kept winning. Up until they had a homestand, they lost 3 in a row. That the most they've lost in a row is 3 this season, and they did it prior to that. They lost 2 games twice. So I don't know. I'm knocking on wood because I'm a dad, right? And I wave the pom poms. So I'm hoping Spencer wins Coach of the Year because I think he's done a really great job. And I like people that appreciate the skill level of what they have. And I think the coaches enjoy it when the guys make plays.
I was looking him up the other day. He came out of Jungle B. He played in Penticton Peninsula
I knew
Panthers.
he was BC boy. Yeah.
Yeah. Brad Tippett's old team. He might have coached him. I don't know. But before I hit him with a CFL question to wind it up, do you have anything else for Chick before we let him go?
No, but going back to Carberry, he's winning.
Yeah.
Let's simplify it.
Right.
Coach of the year should probably have not necessarily, but I do like Dean Evison as well.
Yeah.
I was watching Columbus.
What a job he's done, seriously. Yeah.
He's so passionate on the bench. I mean, half the time his face is 15 shades of red because he is wound up about something.
I can picture that in Minnesota too.
Yeah.
Even sort of barking back and forth at other coaches. I remember him and Rick Bowness sort of going at it last year. I remember I was watching the game, but yeah, like Maurice talked about that. Just think of the things they've had to overcome, obviously, with the great loss and then they lost Sean Monahan for an extensive period, and sort of there's a couple key cogs up front, and obviously the emotional aspect of the Gaudreau loss. They've just done an incredible job, and you got to take your hat off to them. We played Anaheim yesterday, and sort of similar. I had no idea. I said we again.
It's all good.
The Capitals, and that team was 500 after the start they had. I couldn't believe how good they were last night.
Anaheim? Well, they're talented.
Wow, are they ever?
But
and they
something
come
was
out waves.
missing. I hope they're finally going to.
I think they're just young, eh? But they're a 500 hockey team.
They got a lot of young. The last time they played Edmonton, I was like, oh boy. Of course, Edmonton's either awesome or terrible, and they were terrible.
That's true.
We don't have time for that conversation. But yeah, I agree. There's a lot of good young players on Anaheim.
Yeah.
And think about when Getzlaf and Corey Perry were babies.
Right.
It took time, but it came together. It will again.
It will. Yeah.
That agent, by the way, on the phone, he goes, what's Sarina think of the Oilers?
We don't have time?
No, we're not talking
We
about
didn't have.
Yeah.
No, Rod didn't even tell me that.
No, what's the point?
Yeah.
Why?
Not going there. That's not a bell ring.
Can you write this down, Ben? I want this clip, please. Huge Canadian Football League fan, Jeff Chychryn. And your dad, John.
Yeah.
Tell me how and why. Why do you love that league so much?
From me, growing up, Tony Gabriel, Tom Clements.
Okay. Did you just boo him?
No yards. Oh, don't 76 hurts. Eh? I know.
That's what I'm saying.
I get it. I can see it.
So can I. Cover him.
I love the rules. I love the 3 downs. I love the 20-yard end zone. Like, could you imagine the NFL with that? With the athletes they have.
So great.
Be so great.
199.
I think they're missing out. I mean, look at the kickoffs they have in the NFL now. What is that?
Terrible.
Nonsense? It's crazy. There's a lot. Listen, the Canadian Football League, I hear it all the time. What's so great about it? Well, they're not trying to be the NFL, right? There was a time, right, when they brought up Cousineau and Ferragamo and White Shoes Johnson in Montreal, and their payroll was probably higher than half the NFL team. It's not run like that, right? It's just a fun. It's the oldest trophy in North American sports, right? Am I right?
Oh yeah,
I believe it is.
Is the Memorial Cup older?
I don't think so.
No,
we could look it up, but
yeah.
Pat McAfee calls it State Fair football.
Yeah, right. Well, from where I'm from, Pat what does he know? Like, to me in Ottawa, it's the walk-up crowd on Bank Street, right? The walk-up ticket crowd. I used to get $2 end zone tickets. I delivered the Ottawa Citizen. They used to hand them out on game day. It's just part of my. It was East-West. It was East-West. That's Canada.
Still is. Yeah.
Still is. Yeah.
Well, by the way, McAfee, him and I had it out over that. And he goes, no. I love state fairs. He goes, it's not a insult. So, anyways, thank you for that, Chick. Appreciate it. Thanks for coming down. Hope you enjoyed
Thanks,
it.
Rod. Thanks.
Our first live broadcast.
That was great. That was the most passion the two of you had the whole time. Let's talk about the Ottawa Rough Riders.
And the Saskatchewan Rough Riders.
And you booed him, and it was all good.
Oh, that's great.
Thanks, Chick.
Thank you.
Good job, Benny boy. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We'll see you next week here on Cats and Bolts.
Benny, I like how you bring it.